Hello, Soul Sisters.
Worldwide. How's that for an entrance? So we want to apologize for misleading everyone every week about the 6:30. We should just say 6:50.
We should just probably say 6:45.
We're gonna fix it. We're gonna do better, people. I want to make sure that if anyone sees us, that they can start casting. No, I don't want to cast that. Go away. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So at the beginning of the week, I posted the question about whether or not people eat differently on the weekends and the weekdays. And some people kind of expressed maybe some frustration with themselves that they do eat so differently on the weekend. And that's kind of an example of how nutrition by addition can maybe help us feel a little bit differently about things like weekends and holidays and parties and all of those things. Because when we're restricting, when we're like forbidding foods or not allowing ourselves to eat certain foods, it's really hard when you have access to them and you kind of like go crazy. So it doesn't work, does it?
No, it does not. Thank you for that great intro, Jem.
Was it not good?
No, it was good. No, I meant that for
I mean, this story, what made me think about this is I have a client and she was starting our program and I was like, you know what? We're starting on Friday. We're not waiting till Monday.
Oh,
like
you've made me do that and I don't like
it. And the goal was to eat 2 to 3 vegetables a day. She was at 1 to 2. So we were adding 1 or 2 servings of veggies a day. And I get this message like, oh, it's my husband's birthday and I've got to cook meatballs and I've got to make cake. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, and you can still have a salad when you have all these things. Like,
yeah, you know? That all or nothing mentality, which is very conducive to diet culture, sneaks in, and it makes it feel impossible because if we can't do it perfectly, then it's not worth doing. And I think that is a really that is a mindset shift that is going to take time and practice for people to get out of, because I still totally have that feeling sometimes too, where I'm like, if I can't do this 100%, then it's not worth doing. And that's just not how nutrition works.
I think
fortunately
also, like if we work on like adding foods in instead of taking them away, like I think you feel more successful too. Mm-hmm. Like even if you don't do it, you're like, oh, I forgot to add that food in. That's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah,
I ate this thing I wasn't supposed to eat.
Yeah, and I was on the social medias and saw a post by somebody who was talking about how when we forget to eat, we feel almost like proud of ourselves, but then if you like overeat, which is like the opposite of that, like we feel really down, right? And it's like, it's very interesting because being underweight is actually carries a lot more direct health risks than being overweight does. And yet we still have this paradigm that we're very married into in our culture. And when you do look up, you know, it's happened to me where I'm like, I don't know, like veggie lasagna, and it's just immediately like, lose weight with this lasagna recipe. You know, it's all so what's difficult is I think that there are a lot of people trying to pursue better health and they're not even really looking for weight loss, but it's like, it's
that message them sent over and over and over again. Yep.
Yeah. And so and when we, and all, again, you look up healthy eating, maybe you're like, oh, healthy snacks for the week. And it's like, stay below your calories, you know, like stay in a calorie deficit with these snacks. It's like the first one on the list. And maybe my Google search is, you know, different than yours, but it's very difficult. And it's an immediate, when you think about improving your diet, I think most people think about what not to eat.
Right, exactly. But really, like, if you took all those foods out and you didn't eat a lot of nutrient dense foods, then your diet really wouldn't be that improved and your energy would be super low because you're probably not eating much of anything.
Yeah, there was an NIH study about like they did like the top 5 most popular diets. It included, I think, Atkins, South Beach, anyway, several. And I did a post about this, but basically the study said if you were to adhere to this diet perfectly, 100% and follow the meal plans, you would be nutrient deficient.
Mm.
It's like, it's pretty wild. So yeah, Jen and I have both just had so much experience working with clients that feel such immense disappointment in themselves when they're trying to pursue better health and trying to untangle this better health, more nutrients, right? Eating healthier, which I think we all strive to do to one degree or another. It's like, how can we like untangle this so we can feel good in this process and have fun with it and be curious instead of dreading it and feeling like failures? Or Jen brought up a great point about when you're doing this restriction, that social events go from something we look forward to something that some people dread.
Yeah, yeah, which is terrible. That's really sad to me, to like not enjoy those like celebratory moments, especially after all we've gone through with the pandemic, to like, then be afraid when we finally get to go to a 4th of July barbecue after all this time. Like, you're spending your time worrying about what you're going to eat when you haven't like hugged your friends in over a year. Like,
Yeah.
perspective wise, that sucks.
And I have to say that just the whole clean eating and that kind of thing has been around now for almost 10 years probably, but it feels like less, but it's probably around that time, and it's still ramping up. It hasn't peaked, I don't think. But I did really markedly notice a difference in clients over the holidays, like you were saying, over the holidays, really stressed. Like, hey, how was your weekend? Oh, it was good, except, I went to this thing and she had this whole truffle platter, and oh my God. And like, I'm like, that's what you have to tell me. And again, it's probably context because I'm the trainer, right? So like, maybe
Yeah.
they expect that is, so I understand that it's not completely neutral, but I really had noticed a really marked uptick in people having this anxiety, just being around foods that are on their no list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Avoid, red, right? The label, why it's not like yellow, green, red, or whatever, like, um, and I think it's important to understand what happened, like not in depth, but what happens in the brain when we do that, which is like foods or anything becomes more alluring when we are trying to restrict them and limit them.
Yep. Yeah. I think we're all familiar with like, as soon as you cut something out, that's like what you're going to crave.
You know what I think about it like? We talk about this at tennis. It's like when you're on a bike and there's like one tree in the whole parking lot, and you're like, don't hit the tree, but you're looking at the tree and you're like, oh God, there's a great, what is it, Seinfeld? There's some great episode about, I think it was Seinfeld maybe, where somebody was learning how to ride a bike and they just like kept running into the same tree, right?
Well, this was a real thing when I taught skiing, because people were afraid of hitting things and then they would stare at them and ski right towards them. You're gonna
it's like when you're a server and you're like, the first thing you learn, don't look at the drinks on the tray. As soon as you look at them, they will spill. It's it's wild, but it's a very similar concept, that this avoidance creates fixation. So in trying to avoid something, we become fixated on that thing, and we fear it. And I think that that's really the more important point, is fearing certain foods and getting into this, and this is diet culture greatly impacts this moralizing of foods. This is where we get this idea of some foods ranking higher, as far as moral high ground, or virtuous, right? Virtuous foods. And the funny thing is people are like, oh well, if I left to my own devices and I would eat chocolate all day and that'd be so unhealthy. You know, it'd be less healthy than that. What if you just ate celery all day? I bet you you'd be more nutrient deficient just eating celery all day than if you ate your favorite ice cream all day, right? And it's like nobody thinks of it that way. All we think is that the good tasting foods are bad, right? They're naughty. If you're enjoying it or it's pleasurable, it's not good, right? And I think it's funny. I think Jade Tita said that where he was, God, one of his podcasts, he's like, really like weight loss advice, just like don't eat like foods that you really enjoy is one way. And I just was like,
so sad.
What? Like, what are you talking about?
Oh. All right. Well, we did say we were going to rein it in and have 3 action steps today.
Who said that? Ready? That doesn't sound like something I would say. No, kidding.
This is your suggestion.
I know. Sometimes I say.
On a side note, today, Justine and I had a meeting and I had to be like, no, we can't talk about that yet till we finish this thing. I felt like such a jerk.
Oh my God, no. Oh, Jen, I need you to be that person.
I need people saying that in my life. So we have 3 ways to bump up your nutrition in how you're eating. And the first one we talked about, when you're trying to eat more nutritious foods, like choose ones that you like, not ones you think you should be eating. Mm-hmm. For me, fish I don't really like fish, but I also know that I need omega. So I take an omega-3 supplement because I'm not going to eat fish because I don't like it. And I'll cook it and I'll be like, like I can eat it, but no.
And another important point about that is we talk about deprivation, not just being hungry full, right? Feeling deprived isn't always that because you didn't eat, right? So if you are eating fish because you're like, well, I'm gonna have this cod even though I don't like it, chances are you might have a full meal and still have cravings and hunger feeling.
And not feel satisfied.
Feel satisfied. So it's so important to choose foods that you actually enjoy, because if you just pile a bunch of food on your plate because an Instagram influencer, said this was what you should eat to be healthy, but those aren't things that you like, you're going to most likely still be hungry and craving and unsatisfied after a full meal. And then that can be really confusing and cause people a lot of emotional discomfort because they feel like, what's wrong with me? Why am I so hungry? My appetite's out of control. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even have to be just taste, but like Jen mentioned, well, we'll get into the seasonal, but it can also just be like preparing things in a way that you don't like. Like we talk about steaming vegetables. It's like, I hate steamed vegetables.
Yeah.
I roast my vegetables and I love them, but I didn't even know I liked cauliflower until I freaking roasted it. I literally was like, cauliflower is disgusting. I do not understand how people can eat it. And then I roasted it and I'm like, this is great, right? So
roast it and cover it in buffalo sauce and dip it in ranch.
That sounds really good. We got to get you an air fryer because
also hilarious on the subject of roasting vegetables and foods that you enjoy, also foods that sit well with you. So like I roasted some cauliflower and it is not sitting well with
cabbage.
I roasted some cabbage and it's not working out. I'm really glad I'm single.
In these moments.
Only Oz is having to deal with my terrible flatulence from my roasted cabbage.
So funny. So foods that you like and foods that like you. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And that's another good point about why it's so important to really listen to your body around this, because again, if you're anywhere on the internet, you're going to be getting nutrition advice. And the fact is kale and spinach, the studies that we have, I suppose, say that they're very good for you and you should be eating them. But some people, if you try to eat a green smoothie, you are going to feel terrible. Our ability to digest certain foods really varies greatly person to person.
Right. And I think raw veggies in particular can wreak havoc on people. And a lot of people try to make that effort to be healthier and they add in too many veggies at once,
Yeah,
and too many raw veggies when they haven't been eating them. And yeah, once again, serious intestinal distress.
absolutely.
No
Yeah.
bueno.
Yeah.
And then with second way with summer coming up, like I think of with the warmer weather, I want to eat cold foods or cool foods. So like salads are more appealing to me and fruit is more appealing to me. Oh my God, in the summer, watermelon, like ah. And then in the winter, maybe like a veggie soup or the roasted vegetables. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you're trying to like bump up the nutrition in your meals, like, you know, have it match the season because they're, you know, that's probably you're going to want to eat that way naturally.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm going to just say something, and I know it's not technically on the list, but it just popped into my head. I really just want to be clear
Going
that,
rogue, folks.
because this is something that I've heard, and I think, and this is something that I used to say to people that is unfortunate, but I am not suggesting that anyone replace like the food that they like with another food. That's not what nutrition
That's
by
not what
addition
this
is.
is.
That's
Yeah.
not what we're talking about, because
That's nutrition by replacement.
yes, not the same. And so I used to say that to people. That is one way in which I feel as though I did misguide people, where I said, you know, oh, well, it's so easy. Like, instead of having pasta, just use spaghetti squash, right? And don't get me wrong, I actually, there was a time when that tasted okay. Now I can't eat that, but there was probably because I was just eating meat anyway, whatever. But my point being is that is not the same thing. If you are already having, like, we've talked about this, we talked about this with the meal prepping, right? It's not that you don't have your yummy mac and cheese that you love. It's just that maybe you would have some spinach in there, or some of the throw some frozen peas in there if you feel like you're not getting enough veggies through the day. So I really want to make that clear. We're not saying, oh, fill your plate with all these vegetables so that you don't have the bread or whatever the hell it is. That's
yeah.
not
Today I actually added I added roast. I had bought a rotisserie chicken, so I added some pieces of chicken to my mac and cheese.
right.
Yeah. And I also like another thing is for like the level of activity that I have, like to eat clean. It would be really hard to consume enough quote unquote clean food. Like sometimes you got to get dirty to fill yourself up.
Absolutely.
That sounded terrible.
Good advice. All right. Don't isolate that quote out, people. Okay. Like, when we're famous, Jen, people are going to go back and be like, we're going to get canceled real quick.
And then the third way is really just kind of like an attitude to have about this, and to not like be rigid about it, to be flexible. So maybe your goal is to make sure that you eat protein with most meals and that you eat a fruit or vegetable with most meals, but that doesn't mean that you judge yourself if you don't, or that you freak out, or that you eat things that you don't feel like eating just to like meet these rules.
Absolutely.
And we talked about like omega-3s being a good example. Like you don't need to eat omega-3 every day, but like you need like eat fish twice a week and you get enough. So it's okay if you go a few meals without having that like nutrient dense food.
Yes. Yeah. That kind of it's a kind of a myth, this myth that is, you have to have all of the food spectrum in every single day of your life. And that is not how your body needs, especially the micronutrients. Yeah, absolutely. I thought of something when you said that, but now I guess I cannot remember. Yeah. So one, like the food that you're adding in. 2, eat seasonally. So that's really like those cravings are going to change through the seasons. We live in a 4-season environment here in Vermont, at least. 3 is the flexibility and not having that rigid mindset, because the rigidity is what keeps this on the wagon, off the wagon mentality, which everyone hates. I mean, I'm not the only one. Nobody enjoys that. And the reason that we get into that is because of the rigidity through which we're trying to accomplish this like quote unquote, like perfect way of eating. Like there's this way of eating that we're going to all get to if we just try hard enough. And it's like, I'm sorry, no, we're all going to get stuck in the airport and all there is a Cinnabon open. You know, it's like we're living life, people. Like seriously, like life is messy and complicated. And my add-on number 4, bonus number 4, which is
again.
This is not nutrition by replacement.
Right.
This is nutrition by addition to what you're already having.
Yes. And to bring it back to what we were talking about with the weekends, how we started our week on the Facebook page, you know, rather than kind of like going hog wild on the weekend and like feeling guilty about it, like just, you know, find ways to incorporate some vegetables or protein with your meals.
Yes.
Make sure you drink enough water. Like,
yes. And also have foods you enjoy through the week. Yes. I cannot tell you how many people that I talk to when we do discuss, especially women who are dealing with overeat, you know, what they perceive to be overeating or binging episodes in the evenings, when they tell me what they've had during the day, I'm like, I'm sorry, you're getting up at 5 and all you've had by 3 p.m. is a salad and like 8 almonds and like a coffee. Like, no wonder you're freaking starving, you know?
Right. So yeah, and then you do that 4 days in a row. Like, sure, Friday night's going to be a hot mess.
Yes. And so incorporating foods you really enjoy into your Monday through Thursday, so that when you get to Friday, you're not like, you know, feeling, you know, like the body is basically going to try to make up for the deficit of the week. That is what your body is designed to do. So that is, you know, and if you're experiencing that, you know, the kind of, I can't really think of a better term than like hog wild, you know, people are like going, woo, you know, on the weekends. And then they're like, oh my God, now I have to start all over. But it's like, you don't
like
have
that. Well, it's the Last Supper kind of mentality. Yeah. We use that expression. Yeah.
Yeah. So incorporating, like I have, for example, I bought, Price Chopper had like a 12-pack of mini croissants. Oh my God, they're amazing. So I'm having them in the morning with my breakfast and they're so good, like with some jam and stuff. I'm like, shit, man, this is delicious. Right. So having those pleasurable foods, because deprivation is not just about like hunger, like physical hunger, biological hunger. Like this, we need to be satiated and satisfied. That is a big part of the human appetite. You know, we're more complicated than a freaking, what's my one that I can never remember? Koala. Nope. Panda?
Pandas eat bamboo.
We're not pandas, people. We need variety. Yeah. So pleasure, don't be afraid of pleasure. Oh, please.
Yeah.
Such a tough one. We should do one on that, pleasure, man.
Yeah, let's do one on pleasure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Gotta work on my sexy face. I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Like, yikes. Okay, good thing it's getting a little dark on my end. You can't even really see me anymore.
Yeah, no, that's good because I was about to say something ridiculous, so I'm gonna avoid that now.
Quite dark. Let me just get close.
Cassie was joining us. Hi, Cassie, and Michelle Miller.
I know people are probably like, I was live when you said you were going to be here and you were 25 minutes late.
Yeah, I think we should do that by now. Hi, Cassie and Michelle. Thanks for watching. And then anyone that watches after. I talk to people and they tell me they watch these.
I talk to people. I know people who know people, and people are watching.
And they watch things.
So, you know, to end, I don't think we need to go over the Iron B6 We can do that maybe another time, but what this really comes down to, and I'll just sum it up, and Jen, you can do a summation of your own, but is really coming down to that abundance versus scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. Humans do not thrive in scarcity. Okay. And I think a great way of, getting this through our head when we are so inundated in a diet culture is, instead of using food as in examples or anecdotes, using water, which I think is great. Like this idea of, you know, if you were to not drink water all day, at night, what would you probably do when you have a jug of water? You'd probably drink a lot of it. You might even drink so much that it's like coming out the sides of your mouth, or you'd cough maybe, right? right? And that's the same. It's the same, you know? So this adopting this abundance mindset, this is where the mind thrives, knowing that there's enough.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't just say it. The brain like you need to show yourself that there's enough by not restricting yourself and making yourself hungry all the time, because the body is just, it doesn't like that, man. It's trying to survive. It really is trying to survive. It doesn't understand what's fashionable right now for body types. Sorry, your body doesn't know that. Your brain does not understand that, right? The primal part of your brain that is controlling hunger and metabolism, all of that stuff, does not understand that you want to look like Kendall Kardashian. That doesn't matter to the brain, right? Like, so anyway, I'm ending on a rant. And no apologies.
And then I just want to show you that I deal with this all day.
This is what you're dealing with.
This is what he does at night. He just stares at me. I don't know what he wants. I just let him know.
Yeah, in and out, in and out, in and out.
He wants me to lay on the couch. I need to be done.
I do have little Rubens here too. She's kind of hard to see. Hi, Ruby.
She's not like staring at you.
No, she's staring off into space.
And then he like does a little like step with his foot, like.
You're like, what are you gonna do? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, and we will put these 3 plus the bonus 4th that I came up with on the fly. We will make these into a nice little infographic that you can have in your back pocket. You can save it and share it. And thank you for joining.
We should announce about, so Boss, new month of Boss starts next week, and we're going to be focusing on power movements, which are great for all of our summer activities. So there's going to be some fun stuff there with that. And then what's the nutrition topic? I can't remember.
That is a great question, Jen. And I don't know the answer to that.
It's going to be something good.
It's going to be something amazing.
Leave us in the comments.
Yeah. And the yoga theme will go along with that power theme. So we're going to be getting into the solar plexus chakra, and we're going to be working on power, like goddess pose, which is one of my favorite poses, and some powerful poses like the warriors and things like that to complement the theme for your strength workouts. So that'll be really fun. We're really looking forward to developing the content.
And we're going to video some full workouts for you. So Boss members aren't going to necessarily have to get all their workouts from a PDF. So at least one workout and one yoga probably for next month, right?
All the yogas are always full videos.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know how else to do it. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to do this video. You follow me.
Yeah. So now we're going to do some videos for the strength stuff. Too.
Yeah, and we were hoping, I think that that's going to make a difference for people who just want to click play and watch a video, and you can just follow along with Jen. I'm sure she's going to make some hilarious jokes.
Oh, I will be so
witty,
charming
and witty. All right. Yeah, super exciting. And we will see you in 1 week. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.